Do you have your copy yet of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's bestseller Countdown to Chaos, The Silent Federalizing of Elections? November 3rd, 2020, something happened for the first time in history, and as a result, America became something many of us no longer recognize. But first, this book will make you mad, then sad, and then you are most likely to become pissed off. Anger is good, and feelings are good, if you know how to channel those feelings. This book will help you do that, but do not open this book if you can't handle the truth. If you just want to take the blue pill and stay in the matrix, that is your choice. The book is carefully researched and presented in chronological order. You will be taken on a journey back in time to see how the system and machine was devised, developed, manufactured and deployed. Once you see it, your eyes will be forever open, and you will never be the same person again. You have been warned. Let's continue. On November 3rd, 2020, the world, your world, changed. The official counting of votes for our general election, specifically the votes being counted for president, was stopped at approximately 10:30 p.m. Red flags went up everywhere. Over the next few days, American voters sensed something was horribly wrong. The events of the month of November 2020 forever changed American history, American media, and social media, all, and were forever harmed, as was American voters' trust and confidence in our elections. As time passed, Joe Biden was sworn in, and America had descended into deep chaos. This book is a deep research dive into the who, what, when, where, why, and how of some critical questions such as, was this chaos intended or manufactured? What happened in the election when there was such a clear, bold movement for Donald J. Trump? How could someone like Joe Biden, who really did not campaign at all, and when he did there were only a handful of supporters present, ever win the election to become President of the United States of America? One side cried out, the election was rigged, and the other side shouted out, you're poor losers, or there is no such thing as election fraud. Americans became split even further and deeper at a time when we were already split more than ever before in modern times. To determine if there could ever be nefarious activities within American elections, we need to find solid, factual answers to questions which can no longer remain unanswered. Is there even any way to know the outcome of an election before the results are called? In fact, this question needs to be both asked and answered, because if anyone or any country was going to materially change the outcome of an American election, they would have to have some form of reasonable advanced knowledge of how the election was going at any one time. Is there even the remote possibility that bad actors could peek into our elections as they were in process? For the moment, let's say there was a way to see the predata of our elections across the United States. Is there even a way for our voting systems and machines to be compromised? Could votes even be changed after they were cast? Could votes be inserted into our machines? Even if a bad actor wanted to undermine the American elections, how could they ever do it? Would we ever be able to detect such egregious and nefarious violations of the American voting systems? Wouldn't it take thousands of criminals to pull something like that off? How could it even be done when the media tells us there is no such things as election fraud? Why, if so many people and professionals have looked, has no hard evidence ever come to light? You need facts. You'll need answers. Find those answers in Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's bestseller, Countdown to Chaos, The Silent Federalizing of Elections.
Okay, guys, welcome to this, educational special. This is, I'm going to go through it relatively quick. This is for you to be able to understand what is going on, what is being talked about, etc., because there's a video that's taken off about freeing Tina Peters, put out by tinapeters.us, that people are saying should free Tina Peters from prison, which would be an absolutely fantastic thing to do. Number one, will you please share this across your own platforms? This is very important. Next, I'm going to give you a little bit of jury instruction, if I may, because in this program, I'm going to ask you to put all emotional sentiments aside. Do your job as a juror and decide, based on your jury instructions, is this either proven or proven beyond a shadow of a doubt, and understand how to use the information. Why do I give those instructions? We must stop acting like the left and acting emotionally, even in the things we do. We have to act factually and methodically. So you have your jury instructions. I want to give you a few things to think about as we go through today's program. And it could be a regular program, it could be an extended program. I'm going to let you decide. There are 3 classifications for anything that is presented out there when it comes to election integrity, which I don't like that word. There is no integrity in elections. When it comes to election integrity, there are basically 3 intents or purposes in mind. I want you to keep these in mind as we go through what we're going to go through today. Number 1, you're either doing what you do and discovering information for the use of prosecution. That means you want them locked up. So it's either being done to get, to effect, to cause, to facilitate prosecution. The next level of information circulating out in election integrity is what I call education. It's being done to educate the public at large. You have to admit, since 2020, you know now more than ever about our election systems, how they work and how they don't work. So the second category is education. The last category of something is what I call evolution. Now, these are kind of different things from the very top one, where you're looking to get the bad guys prosecuted. The evolution part is you're looking to get the system, the laws, the procedures, or the contracts to evolve to a point that we close the holes. In other words, to heal to the point we close the self-inflicted wounds we did and the opportunistic wounds the system created. So these are the 3 views of any information that I'm suggesting you look at. Is this prosecution-wise? Is this education-wise? Is this evolution-wise? I'm going to treat you like the jury. Since the information was done in a 2-hour format, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through the first 30 minutes, and then we're going to have a discussion. From there, you'll decide the other course of the program. But it's going to break down. We're talking about the Smartmatic whistleblower. Is it, in fact, a blowtorch, like everybody's claiming? Or is it blowing smoke? And what we're going to do is we're going to put it to the provable evidence litmus test. Now, basically what that means, you've seen me do specials on this before, it's called the Daubert standard. When you hear testimony or it is presented, whether it be a first witness hand account or deposition or whatever presented to the court, this is the standard it must meet. It must be testable, objective, and reliable. The threshold and the criminal part of it for prosecution is burden of proof, meaning beyond a reasonable doubt. It must pass what's called the reliability and the verifiability. Is it something that can be tested and cross-examined? The rules of evidence part, is it relevant to the case being heard? And in the form it's delivered and presented, is it reliable? That means directly to the relevancy of the case. And then there is the concept of evidence versus interpretation. Evidence typically is documented. You got forensic tests, audits, or firsthand witness testimony, etc. So, as I run the opening of the program, I'm going to recommend you get a paper and pen. I'm going to let this play organically as if you are the jury box. I will let it go for 30 minutes. You will hear in totality whatever is presented in that 30 minutes. I want you to try to judge it upon, was that something that's prosecutable? Was that something that's just a good education point? Or is that something for an evolution point? I'll stop at that 30-minute mark. I will do my best not to chime in. And then, based on your notes, based on my notes, we will put this to the test and see where we end up. Once again, you have been hearing about the Smartmatic whistleblower. Everybody's been elevating this. My Twitter has never been hit so hard. Oh, whistleblower, here it is. It's the machine. So is it a blowtorch or is it blowing smoke? And is it provable evidence? You got about 2 minutes. Let's get started.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Joe Von Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to the program. This particular episode is called Smartmatic Whistleblower. Is it a blowtorch or is it blowing smoke? Provable evidence litmus test. When I ask this, I'm asking you to decide. I want to set a few records straight. The systems that are used in our elections, notice I didn't say the machines, the systems that are used in our elections, what some people refer to incorrectly as voting machines, should all go away. 100% should go away. Now, can those systems be healed? Yes, they can be healed with contracts, and it can actually be done by a holistic system, and you could meet in the middle, and you could make sure there was no fraudulent activity at all in elections. But my personal feeling is the systems, the machine should go away. Blockchain will not fix it. Voting on a mobile phone will only mean we give up our country. So that's the first standard where I am. Secondly, hand counting ballots is a very good thing. But switching to hand counting, paper ballots only, one-day elections will not fix our elections. It will hamper some things. It will not fix everything. And the system will still be able to rig, influence, and steal elections. Why? Because if you're hand counting, you still don't know the difference between a legal ballot voted illegally or an illegal ballot voted illegally. Because it still goes back to the voter rolls. That is where the fat is. And if you watch President Trump talking to the UN, talking about 25 million illegal aliens coming across our border, and you understand the instruction set when they are, quote unquote, detained by ICE or met at the border, that you got to go get an ID. And then you understand when they go get their ID, they're automatically dropped into motor voter. That's a huge number, folks, combined with the 21 million we knew were already there that are absolutely bad. We may have a 30, 40 million problem in our voter rolls. So you can see the issue's a big one. So that's where you need to understand where I come down on machines and paper and whatever. It's naive to think that hand counting the ballots fixes what goes on. It's further past naive. It's ignorant. It's myopic in view. Next, one of the worst tragedies we've experienced during all this mess since 2020 is Tina Peters being sent to prison. Tina Peters should not be in prison. But Tina Peters did not get sent to prison just for doing her job. That is incorrect. Tina Peters got sent to prison directly because the actions of others, not the left, but the right. Period. What others did in the name of helping, they were the ones that broke the laws. I basically think Tina Peters was set up. Tina Peters is sitting in prison because of the actions of other people after the election, and not for where people said she was just doing her job. Period. That's it. I mean, you can look at the facts yourself. I don't have to go over it. Should she be free? Absolutely. Now, why we're doing this exercise is because we're talking about a Smartmatic whistleblower. That everybody's saying, it proves it, free Tina, it's going to free Tina. That's why you get to do this litmus test. Is this something good for prosecution? Is this something good for education? Is this something good for evolution? You're going to be able to decide as you see it and watch it. You're going to be watching a recorded deposition. Another reason I'm doing this, my email, my Twitter, and other places has been hammered over this video. Somebody put me on an email chain saying, look, here's the proof. It's the machines. It has been blah, blah, blah. I turned around and replied, this particular set of proof is not admissible in court. Furthermore, even if it was admissible, it has to do, quote unquote, with the machines, and it falls under the Election Assistance Commission and the VVSG, Voluntary Voting Systems Guidelines. So I said, folks, we've got to get past that. We have to have hard, provable evidence. Well, one of the people that was copied took offense to that. Somebody you see on election integrity calls all the time as an expert. Basically accused me of muddying the waters, and it's not true. I mean, just kind of fronting me. Boom, 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 boom. I said, whoa, hang on a minute. I'm talking about the EAC and the VVSG. Well, I'm working in all these states, and I'm helping with suits, and I'm this and that. I finally had to say, one, y'all put me on this chain. Two, I gave you my expert opinion. Three, this is not a competition. Four, you don't do what I do. We're not even in the same space. Five, I'm not your enemy. I'm giving you the actual letter of the law. Here it is, and I'm comparing it and contrasting to what this video is going around. Now, that email needlessly 5 or 6 times just kept on, well, but you're muddying the waters and you're this and it's not true. And I said, stop. Quit doing what the left does. I'm entitled to my research and my opinions. You're entitled to you. Fantastic. If you're working on laptops in South Dakota and all this other stuff and compliance, have at it. I hope you do every state. That's not what I do. I don't worry about it. Here's what I do. And we're talking about factual, provable evidence. That convinced me that we still have a long way to go and people have to understand how this really works. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to this video. This video was posted on, I guess, what is called tinapeters.us. Okay, and about 42 minutes or so into the program, you're going to be listening to a Smartmatic whistleblower. One of the things you should know is I recognize this voice. I'm actually pretty sure I know who this person is. Now, a few things that I think you should consider in this. This is a whistleblower fearful for their life. So it's coming under the auspice of, I have to be in hiding. You cannot know who I am. Now, frankly, when it comes to expert witnesses that do work, like in Tina Peters' case, and all of a sudden you find out they're protected witness by the FBI, therefore they can't testify, which also happened again in the PCAP Cyber Symposium stuff with Mike Lindell. His guy can't testify for something, but yet it was the expert. Here again is somebody that can't be known. Now, one of the things I'm asking you to be thoughtful of, as this person does the deposition, make a little few side notes that in things he reveals, could you narrow down how to find this person in the real world? It kind of starts with, why didn't they disguise his voice if it was really somebody who needed protection? Let's start with it. I'm going to let it play through for 30 minutes. Then we are going to discuss this. Put in chat right away, as quick as you can, right? As quick as you can, that the sound you can hear okay. I do not control the sound on my side. It should come through the systems. You may have to turn it up. Here we go. I think. Hold on. Oh, dang it, dang it. What the hell happened here? Okay, you bear with me one moment. I figured this might happen. And I intentionally did not want. Let me see if this is. There you go. Okay, stand by. Here you go. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go back to my screen. Please forgive me. Back to here, pump it up here, sound share, there it is. Here we go.
Viable information, not only to the court, but to the public, because our court systems are open to the public, and this evidence belongs to the public. And thank you for having me.
Amen. Thank you, John.
My name is John Case. I'm a lawyer representing Tina Peters. I'm investigating whether foreign agents manipulated computer voting systems in U.S. elections.
That should be 1 point. Foreign agents.
Sir, do you have personal knowledge whether or not the election systems in the United States, the voting systems, can be manipulated by foreign agents?
The electoral systems of the United States can be manipulated by foreign agents or third parties.
Can be manipulated.
Are you in danger, physical danger, if your true identity is known?
Yes.
In order to protect your safety, have you and I agreed that your identity will be redacted in the final transcript of your testimony, and that your face will be disguised and your voice will be altered by technology?
That is correct.
Have you received any money or thing of value in exchange for your testimony today?
No, not at all.
Have you been promised any money or thing of value in exchange for your testimony today?
No, not at all.
Can you tell us about your expertise in voting system computers?
I have 20 years of experience in electoral systems. Experience comes from Venezuela from 2003 onward, where we received for the first time and we configured the Smartmatic systems for the first time in Venezuela. We configured the transmission systems and the tally systems. I was the national coordinator for voting machines. I was the national coordinator for national data. And
I just want to point out, so you understand the disconnect for me. They're protecting his identity by obscuring his face. They didn't do a lot of voice changing technology, but then he tells you his position, where he was, and what years he was there. This is supposed to be a protected whistleblower, but yet tells you his position, where he was, and what years. Don't let that disconnect slip your mind.
worked in the creation of situation rooms or war rooms for the Venezuelans.
You were the national coordinator for data situation rooms or war rooms for the Venezuelan government?
Yes, I was a person in charge in the situation rooms for the Venezuelan government.
Is the situation room called a war room?
That is correct.
Who was present in the war room during an election?
The president of the republic, the vice president, they could either be there in person or via call. The main ministers of the country are there.
Just for a point of reference, for those of you that know me, this is what we told you about in Countdown to Chaos. We basically explained what this quote unquote situation room was, how it's used, and what they really use it for. Just to tie that little piece for you.
And the president of Congress, or what is called the National Assembly. In the specific case of Venezuela, it would be Diosdado Cabello, Jorge Rodriguez, Delcy Rodriguez, Rafael Ramirez as the president of the oil industry, high-level military personnel. Those are the ones that are in these situation rooms or war room.
And were you personally present in the Venezuelan war room with the people that you just named during elections in Venezuela?
I worked together with them from 2004 to 2016.
And when was the last time that you were in the war room in Venezuela during an election? What year was that?
2015.
Briefly describe your expertise in computer technology.
My high school degree is T degree. That's how we call it in Venezuela. Aside from that, I went to the university to study telecommunications. Even though I didn't end up graduating on that, I studied telecommunication, business administration, and journalism. I'm knowledgeable regarding programming systems, operating systems such as Windows, Linux, and in telecommunications in general to be able to transmit the votes.
What were you responsible for doing in Venezuelan elections between 2003 and 2016?
I was responsible for configuring the voting equipment. I was responsible for configuring the electoral manager system, responsible for the transmission systems, responsible for the electoral system audits, along with the Carter Center and the European Union. On top of that, I was, after that, responsible for the data centers, where we keep all the information of the voter records, biometric systems, and the electoral systems for an election day. Counselor, this is the interpreter. The interpreter was somewhat unclear in the last answer of the witness, whether he meant the election systems, where we keep the election systems that were used during election days, prior election days, or to be used for future election days.
Can you ask him that, please?
I meant the general system where you keep the backups for prior elections and where you would set up future elections. So in the case of Venezuela, the system is centralized in one place. It's very similar to what is done here in the United States, except for that each county has its own system and they operate very much independently. In Latin America, our countries have just a single voting system. In the United States has over 3,000.
Are you familiar with a ministry in Venezuela called the National Electoral Council?
Yes, I was an employee of the National Electoral Council.
And was it as an employee of the National Electoral Council that you set up the...
Do you think you've already learned enough information about this guy who fears for his freaking life that they have to black out his face of where he worked, what his work history was, what he did, who he was in the room with? The breadcrumbs for supposedly this protected witness, I can look up. Even as this goes on, it's amazing. Put a little filter on it. Call it super secret whistleblowing. But yet, he tells you who he is just without dropping his name, and you can find him like that. For me, as a forensic investigator, this is a huge disconnect between what we're being sold optically in this. I'm gonna try my best to not interrupt.
War room to manage the elections in Venezuela?
That is correct.
Did you also set up or direct others under your supervision to set up situation rooms in the states throughout Venezuela?
Correct. We would create manuals so that they can replicate the rooms and then send over the data to the main room.
So each state in Venezuela had its own situation room where election data would be transmitted to the war room. Is that correct?
Each individual monitors his state and then sends over the status to the main room. That's why you have the ministers for the administration in each one of the different rooms, because each minister is responsible for a certain number of states in the country.
Were the results of elections manipulated in Venezuela while you worked for the National Electoral Council?
That is correct.
How were election results manipulated?
In the case of 2004, 1 million fake voters were inputted into the system, into the record of voters. And then the electoral system was used in order to designate
on that one point that he just shared, what did he say? Put it in chat. What did he say? Kind of gives the whole thing away. What did he say? And you're right. People still use this to say it's going to set Tina free. What did the guy just tell you? It begins with, they stick in 1 million bad voters, meaning the voter rolls. Then when they have it in, they use them as they need them. That's why I'm telling you, words matter.
and then send over the data to the main room.
So each state in Venezuela had its own situation room where election data would be transmitted to the war room. Is that correct?
Each individual monitors his state and then sends over the status to the main room. That's why you have the ministers for the administration in each one of the different rooms, because each minister is responsible for a certain number of states in the country.
Were the results of elections manipulated in Venezuela while you worked for the National Electoral Council?
That is correct.
How were election results manipulated?
In the case of 2004, 1 million fake voters were inputted into the system, into the record of voters. And then the electoral system was used in order to designate who each citizen had voted for. Sorry, the interpreter would like to make a correction. And the electoral system was used to determine what who each citizen had voted for, that the government later on used to be able to persecute those that were not within its ranks. In 2006, a tool was used. The tool was called SAES, AES Data Util.
Can you explain how SAES works?
SAES Data Util is a tool that allows you to do a general test of the entire electoral system. In order for you to test the entire system, you need to input the different credentials and also the certifications for the particular election. And this tool allows you to emulate voting machines in order to then transmit the votes.
Was SAES used in Venezuela to manipulate the outcome of elections, to change the results?
That is correct. It is used by the technology directors. In this case, his name, Ardo Hernandez. Later on, it was used by Diosdado Cabello's cousin. His name is Luis Campos Cabello.
And how did they use SAES to manipulate Venezuelan elections?
By using a statistical system, knowing the elector's behavior without exceeding a maximum of 2 or 3% of vote manipulation, while at the same time taking over a large number of voting machines that you need in order to change the total amount of votes that you need to modify. So specifically in the year 2008, the technology director for the National Electoral Council was in charge of transmitting the data from an entire state so that his relatives could win. And this can be corroborated because in the transmission system, the telephone companies have to show that all the voting machines issue the transmissions through the official channels. And a red flag came up that that particular state, that's the state of Merida, had not issued its transmission yet. So it issued a red flag in order for it to be determined whether there was a failure or an error. And so the National Center of Tallying, or the Adjudication Center, responded that the entire state's data had already been transmitted, yet there was no traceability, no trace that showed that the state had transmitted the data through the regular transmission channels. So the solution was to have all the different pieces of equipment retransmit, but nevertheless, that would not change the final tally, because the tally was already there. And all the technical reports regarding these errors or failures were handed over to the military personnel. So they used SAIS data utility tool to transmit the entire information for the entire date, because you can use it to transmit correctly all the state's data. This is supposed to be a tool that, for its normal usage, is supposed to allow you to test the integrity of a system. Or when it's misused, it can allow you to inject votes without people knowing you did so.
I need to interrupt and point out that when the witness says size, it's an abbreviation, SAES.
Gotcha.
And can you tell us what SAES stands for?
It's Automated System of Elections, or something similar. It's like a centralized electoral system. It stands for Automated System of Elections or something like that. That applies for the entire line of products from the Smartmatic company. Every product is called SAIS. So in Venezuela, we had SAIS 3000, 3300, SAIS 4000. And in the United States, they used SAIS 3367 for the Chicago, Illinois machine, where President Obama in the 2006 elections cast his vote.
Is there a data utility feature of SAES?
So there's a tool. Aside from the system itself, there's a tool called SAIS Data Util that allows me to test the entire system. In general, any company providing election systems needs to have such a tool, because they need to be able to prove the integrity of the system.
Can the SAES data utility tool be used to manipulate election results?
That is correct.
How does that work?
So in the case of Venezuela, this tool has been designed for the SAIS system. So now if my system is integrated with an external system, I have to then adapt my tool to be able to test all the elements of my system plus the elements of the other system that is being integrated with my system. Well, then this happened in 2005 when Smartmatic of Venezuelan government, who owns the source code, the old source code belongs to the government, made an integration with the American company called Sequoia Voting Systems when it was acquired in the year 2005. To then bring to pass the elections, carried out the elections in Chicago, Illinois in 2006. Then lending or selling its technology to Dominion Voting Systems in the year 2010. Meaning that I need to have a tool to test the integrity of the system, and I adapt that tool to the different integrations. So that's why I'm saying that you would adapt the tool to each one of the systems, because each system has a different way in which it writes to the databases and different processes.
Is auditing an election part of the Smartmatic software?
That is correct. And it varies by state and country. And also, when you audit an election or when you audit a system, you will be auditing only that which the company wants you to see or what the electoral body wants you to see. In other words, it's not like the audit is like an open audit. Only the modules and the functions that the public needs to know are audited. That is why you have been unable to detect whether a library has been hidden, has been locked, or if it can be manipulated.
Okay. You're going to be the jury. We're going to go through this. Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions. The threshold I gave for you, I could keep on going, but it's just going to talk about other countries and Cuba and all this other stuff. So here's what we're going to do. Now, number one, what we're doing is, as you saw on the screen, let me just put that back on. This is tinapeters.us. That's who put this out. The fellow is one of Tina Peters' lawyers. They are saying this should free Tina Peters. So if you want to judge this, you have a few ways to judge this. All of the things that were said, which you heard, can that be used for prosecution? Is it good stuff for education? Is this something that can help the evolution of our systems? Now, what we're doing is we're taking this video that everybody's raving about all over the place. Here it is. Here's proof. Okay? And telling you this is absolute proof which should free Tina Peters. Again, anything working in election integrity is either prosecution, education, or evolution. Now, here is the standard by which the court demands this evidence presented in court must live up to. It's called the Daubert standard, that the evidence presented must be testable, objective, reliable. Now, what they're presenting is here are a lot of crimes. In that instance, the prosecutor needs burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That means it has to be reliable and verifiable. Physical evidence can be tested scientifically and cross-examined. It needs physical evidence. The rules of evidence is it must be relevant and reliable. Last but not least, there's a difference between evidence in Daubers or there needs to be interpretation, but it can be documented, forensic test, audits, firsthand witness testimony. Now, did you see in the, now, first off, we don't know if this was under oath. As I understand it, it was just the deposition. Deposition does not mean or infer they are under oath. That's number one. Okay. Number two is my understanding is this may not have even been on U.S. shores. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. So the first question I ask you and what was presented, was there presented physical, prosecutable, reliable, and testable evidence that could get Tina Peters out of prison? Put it in chat. Was there evidence presented by Tina Peters' attorney that could be used to get Tina Peters out of prison? A 100% of you are saying no. Now, let's just analyze that for a moment. Let's just analyze it for a moment. Tina Peters should be free. You're going to get pissed at me as the messenger teaching you things. Hold your feelings. Number one, nothing in there, not a single piece, even if you called it evidence, could free Tina Peters. Why is that? Why is that? Give me, if you understand, why none of this is provable evidence. You guys kind of know the drill. Number one, everything on the machines is voluntary. Every rule for the machines at every level is voluntary. Secondly, if we were to focus on what he was testifying about, what was he testifying about? Can you narrow it down to 4 or 5 words for me? What was he testifying about? What was he testifying about? And yes, Emerald Robinson over at Mike Lindell's network is saying people owe her an apology. She's wrong. Okay. Now, there you go. What was he testifying about? That they could change the votes? That was not what his testimony was. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to get to it. Yes, he was testifying about his job and his role and the systems. But one word changed the entire context of everything he said. Do you know what that one word was? It's the word could. Put your hands up. Everybody, put your hands up. Now do this. Now do this. Now do this. Now do this. Could you beat someone to death? Well, you have the ability to make a fist. Hey, do this. Could you shoot somebody? Well, yeah, your finger could pull a trigger. Did that mean you did it? No. Other than the word could, what was the nail in the coffin that makes this inadmissible evidence? He is telling you what he believes, saw, or witnessed happened in Venezuela's elections. Other than it could have, he is telling you what happened in Venezuela's election. So if we applied the standard, let's just go to rules of evidence. Is it relevant? Is it reliable? See, here's the catch. People are saying, but it did change the vote. This can't be used as evidence. It cannot be used as evidence of the standard that we're putting out. Does it get Tina out of prison? Because it is not relevant to Mesa County, Colorado. It is not relevant to Mesa County, Colorado. Why? Because he's talking about what is done in Venezuela. And even if it was accepted, he is saying, in his opinion, it could be manipulated. Okay, let's just show us the physical evidence. Can we test it? Can we duplicate it? Can we scientifically test it? Can we duplicate what he is testifying about? Everybody's yelling about this. Lindelites are saying, see, it's proof, it's proof. Everybody's saying, this is the definitive proof. Proof of what? Now, this is where this part comes in. This is where this part comes in. Is this useful for prosecution? No, it is hearsay. And it is not relevant. You're going to see even more in a minute. Next, is this useful for education? Question. There is, before this statement, BS, after Smartmatic statement, ass. So we got BS or ass. In the BS part of it, before even seeing any of this, did you think our election systems were flat out broke, busted, shitty? Yes. Did you need to be convinced that something's wrong with our election systems? No. So maybe he kind of told you what you already knew. Did he prove it? Well, here's what we've got. The only thing that would make him a credible witness in the court would be what? His name, evidence he was in the room, documentation of how it's done, evidence of all his credentials. But we got a problem. It's super secret. The person that retrieved the Mesa County stuff, quote unquote, for Tina, great, here it is, here's how it works. Oh, we can't have him in court. He's a super secret protected witness. The PCAPS debacle, here it is, here's how it was done. We have all the proof. Oh, he's a protected witness. We can't really bring him. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that's a coincidence? We're presented with this once again. Do you think that is a coincidence? Just a question. He gave his opinion. But see, in order for the opinion to be tested by a court of law, it has to be validated by his credentials, his work, and physical proof. If you can't present the guy his credentials and physical proof, number one, it's opinion. And I really think they didn't work very hard to hide who this guy was, because you can look him up by his freaking resume. You just triangulate Smartmatic, the government, this board, this council, this room, this place, and boom, you find him. Now, let me ask you a question. When the elections went wrong at the very beginning, what were people prepping you with? It was Venezuela. It was Smartmatic. Do you remember that in the very beginning? It was Venezuela. It was Smartmatic. Do you remember all of that? Every bit of that was included in the original cases for the United States government, 20 lawsuits, there were 64 lawsuits total filed, just so you know, 64 lawsuits, okay? Out of those 64 lawsuits filed, 20 were dismissed before hearing. Another 30 lawsuits were actually decided against Trump, saying there's just no merit here. Not standing, but merit. Then the other 14 that would have been still outstanding, Trump and the people who filed on behalf of President Trump, they dropped it. Now, part and parcel of their suits is all of those said Dominion and Smartmatic. And they were about the machines. The machines. Now, according to the rules at both the federal and state level, the machine rules are voluntary. At best case, what could this witness prove? That something's really screwed up in Venezuela. Now, here's what I find interesting. It came, Smartmatic and all this stuff, it was guilt by association by acquisitions and sales. And number one, the machine should go away. But we're talking about, can we fix this? We got to fix this with prosecutions, etc. But I'm trying to figure out how and why do we keep on playing by their rules versus just the rule of law, physical evidence. So that kind of went away earlier. The next thing that came up or was playing actually at the same time is I infiltrated a Zoom call and the executive on the Zoom call with the voting company said, don't worry about Trump. We made fucking sure he's not going to win. Paraphrasing. Okay. And we're actually not talking about Charlie Kirk or anything like that. So don't change the subject. I'm talking to chat. That's not the subject today. That one was proven in courts. Total BS. Could never be proved. No evidence, no nothing. Don't even, it just couldn't be proved. But that got amplified. The next thing that got amplified is we have all the data. They switched it out all over the world. It went all these other places. We have the data. We can show you. Here's where they changed the votes. You can see it all in all 3,000 plus counties. And we're going to show it to you. Then that kind of makes its way around, gets to court, and we find out they never have the data, ever. Never had the data. Now, the common thing in all of those, nothing was provable. There was no physical evidence. Nobody could cross-verify it. There was no way to cross-verify it. And that's, by the way, that's the system does it by design. But it is what amplified everything. And it's what everybody talked about. Now, what happened here is once you found out the PCAPs were never real and never had, what happened? Finally, even all the way up to President Trump started saying, it's the mail-in ballots. It's the mail-in ballots. We got to eliminate mail-in ballots. Then what happened? Then the system, meaning the GOP, RNC, started telling you, bank your ballot. Then the people that always told you it was the machines, started saying it's the machines and mail-in ballots. The very people who told you it's the machines and they're swapping votes. Now, You can go through it. If you want to put your time into 2 hours of this testimony, have at it, write it down, plot it out. But you have to test it from the court standard. From the court standard. Not from your heart, yes, Tina should be released. Not from your feelings, yes, Tina should be released. Not at all. That can't be done. Yes, we're all pissed off about it, and yes, she should be free. And don't run away because I'm about to piss in your Wheaties. Okay? But isn't it interesting when everybody finally gets to the point, right? Gets to the point that we're finally focusing on it's the mail-in ballots. Can we agree on that? That from the president to all kinds of people across the United States, it's the mail-in ballots. Well, when President Trump says we're going to do away with this, which basically means early voting, drop boxes, and all that shit goes away, it's only for very tight purposes, and it's very small, right? People that are in a hospital, indigent, or whatever. What happened? The left started suing all over the place. But at the same time, all of a sudden, you get Serbia, Venezuela. 30 people saved the election in 2024, made sure Donald Trump won. Now, I told you this. Why would they make sure Donald Trump won and then let the down ticket be stolen? Why would they do that? Do you have any plausible answer why they would let Donald Trump win, but then, save from the win and everything else and make sure they win, but then not allow the down ticket to also win, because we lost the down ticket. So you can't justify this. And oh, by the way, those 30 people that saved the election, they're super secret too, and we can't really tell you. But if they saved the election, if they stopped it from going to foreign servers, if they saw vote changing and they stopped the vote changing, what would they have? Evidence. Here's where the people came in. Here's how they changed it. Here's what they did. Here's where it went out. Here's where it came from. Here's the system. Here's the server. Here's the desktop. But we have none of that. But we're supposed to believe that 30 people saved the election. Now, when you understand that even what you heard actually isn't evidence, because it has to be testable, reliable, relatable, and documented. Now, that's a bunch of crap, but this is, what they did? Everybody now went running back to the machines. It's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines, which is where they want you to stay. Okay. There was one really cherry bomb of evidence in there. What was the cherry bomb of evidence that this person revealed? Now, let me ask you a question. Did the system that he was describing change and swap votes? No. Did the system add votes? Yes. How did the system add votes? Did you catch how the system added votes? They inserted voters. So let me ask you a question. Which came first? In order to do any of this, they have to have inserted voters in reserve. Then, because they can see it, because they can suspend it, as he said, the adjudication room, because they can see it, because they can suspend it, and because they have inserted voters, as they watch, they can generate ballots into the system by the truckloads. You understand that, right? He clearly told you that. Now, I'm going to show you a few things. You just have to decide if this is a coincidence. The first coincidence we talked about is here we are back to the damn machines. The next coincidence we're dealing with, just like in Tina's prosecution, the person was, quote unquote, a protected witness. We can't tell you who he is. Just like for the PCAPs with Dennis Montgomery, well, we can't really do it because it's protected. You can't use the information, but it's really real. And we found out that was crap. And we found out the Antifa infiltrated Zoom call was total crap. Once again, we have, quote unquote, a witness saying this that's protected, and we can't tell you who he is because his life would be in danger. But yet they tell you every year chronologically by company and place where he was. Come on, he'd be a dead man walking. So there's a big disconnect there. Once again, we're dealing with this super secret stuff. Now I'm going to bring it into context before I wrap here. Number one, let's go back to the election of 2024. Here is the election of 2024, and you have got to understand this. In Obama's first term, he got 69 million popular votes. In his second term, supposedly got 65 million popular votes. Hillary against Trump supposedly got 65 million popular votes. Biden against Trump supposedly got 81 million votes. That 81 million sticking up middle finger there, 100% stayed away from the ballots, and 100% made you focus on the machines. That 81 million vote, the system, the uniparty made you focus on the machines. The media made you focus on the machines, not the physical ballots, physical evidence. Then on this last election in 24, okay, we're supposed to believe that Kamala was just under Obama, term one, but basically kicked the shit out of both Hillary and Obama in the popular vote. Now, we're supposed to believe this, but here's the rest of the story. See, that's November 24. Here's where it is today. Under the radar, not in elections, this is the popular vote for the November election. They have raised Kamala to basically 75 million votes. She's just under Biden. So they're basically telling you she got almost as much as Biden, kicked the shit out of Obama twice, and Hillary. But all of that happened under the radar months and 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 months after the election. Now, I got a question for you. How do they do that? Put the answer in chat. How do they do that? This was the race called, but they enter within inches of Trump. How do they do that? Well, see, what you're actually seeing here is the setup. I told you, they let Donald Trump win. They stole the down ticket. They only hit a pause button. The reason they stole the down ticket, because when it comes to 2026, they're going to steal the midterms. They're going to impeach President Trump, and they're going to arrest him. This time, worse. So what they have to do is they have to verify, create plausibility that those voters that they stuck in were really real. Now, there's another common thread of the people that told you, it's the machines. And people will live and die by this. They'll join up and they're joining the army that kills us. You can name it anything. Cause for America. Patriot of the patriot. But if you don't know your stuff, you're going to get drawn in. Let me show you another thing. All tied to the same people, all tied to the same groups, all tied to the same pitch, right? Here's who Mike Lindell put up as his expert in elections, and they're talking at a Turning Point event, explaining what not should be done, but what shouldn't be done.
So you have a centralized statewide voter roll that's on networked machines, servers. It has a public-facing internet interface. That's it. That's all I need to know that it's blown. That's a centralized statewide voter roll that was mandated by Help America Vote Act. They have these all over the country. And it's not just that you have a public-facing internet interface to it, but multiple organizations have what's called an API, or an application programming interface. In other words, a machine-to-machine interface into that voter roll. And I'm telling you this because when people say, well, we have to clean up the voter rolls, it's true that they're not following the law. It's true that they're not in good faith maintaining them in accordance with Title 52 that requires that the voter rolls be both secure and accurate. That's a requirement imposed on the secretaries of state who've received the Help America Voting Act and CARES Act funding to maintain those voting systems. What nobody's going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, is you cannot clean those rolls. You're sweeping a dirt floor. Those things.
Now, let me tell you how this is. I was called in to sit down with President Trump in a personal meeting, not a meeting at an event, not a photo op or whatever. In his office, sit down, half of the time in front of him at his desk, half of the time standing on his side of the desk showing him the numbers for 96 minutes. When I explained to President Trump, what's really going on is we've got to get rid of the voter rolls. We have to wipe them out. This was just before the election. He says, Jovan, I can't do that until I'm president. I said, then we got to do a really fast job of cleaning them. We clean it. From behind him, somebody said, well, we're told that don't bother with the voting rolls. Quote, this is Susie Wiles, the president's right-hand person. We're told don't bother with the voter rolls because they'll just put them back on. Who told them that? Mike Lindell's team, because he had access. So nothing got done. Nothing. Now, what I find is this is very interesting because all of the people harping, this is evidence, it's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines. See it, they can swap votes, they do this. There's one thing that they neglect at the very beginning of the testimony, and it was, what is that? Telling you, here's the way it's done. We inserted 1 million phony voters. Then we watched the elections, and in between the software and stuff, as we need votes, we put them in and we make it look legit. Now, he didn't mention a shit about swapping votes. Not a bit. He told you point blank how it works. We insert fake voters. We have them ready. As we need them, we pull them out and we make them look like a legit vote. Did the machine swap that? No. Did the machine change that vote? No. In fact, all the machine did was through the normal systems was recorded as a legitimate vote. But where was the crime? Back here in a disconnected system called the voter rolls. And that's exactly what it is in the United States of America. But the system told you it's the machines, all of it's voluntary. Biggest crime is $1,000 misdemeanor fine. They keep on telling you it's the machine. They need your eyes on the machines, because as long as you look at the machines, a few things happen. Nobody gets in trouble. And they'll just write a few little nifty thing and you think it's been fixed. But it's not. It's still there. And everybody ignores the evidence of they do it while we're sleeping. There's the election. Here's what they did while not in the election. Now, I keep on telling you this. That's why they moved her to 75 million. All they're doing is justifying all that bullshit they fluffed in 2020. That's all they did. Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of conservative dollars have been used to convince you, swear it's the machines. And it's still going on now. It's the machines, it's machines, it's machines. When the very perps tell you, if you listen, how they do it. You watch what they fight, push back on, they tell you how they do it. You watch President Trump tell you the absolute truth. It is the mail-in ballots and we got to get rid of them. What does the RNC come out with and put out? Scott. Oh, you got to bank your ballot. You got to bank your ballot. You got to bank your ballot, which is mail-in voting and early voting. You understand how the party is completely different than what the man knows personally and has seen in the evidence. Now I'm going to shit on your parade. Let's say by some absolute hook and crook, somebody gets to present this testimony as evidence that you just saw. Right? Let's even say it makes it to court. And people say, this is what they did. They're swapping votes. It was the machines. Are you with me? Let's just accept that that is true. Can you change your mind for a bit? By the way, Mike Lindell has announced he's running for governor of Minnesota. I told you that months ago, but it's now officially announced. So I want you to basically now take that little video you heard, and say it makes it to court. Okay? Now we're going to get to court. Now let's say I've got that guy on the witness stand. Of course, I'm going to point out, well, this is just your opinion. Of course, I'm going to point out, well, you said you inserted 1 million bad voters first. That's how it's really done, right? But let's just say some hook and crook it's done. And so you're implying, Mr. Venezuela, that this is how it's done in the United States. Yes, I am. So Smartmatic is doing this in the United States. Yes, they are. Okay, let's look at the evidence. You ready? Jovan, how can we reshift our focus? Is the phony voters to votes added to enter to votes in the machine to look legitimate in court? You haven't watched me for a long time, Polly. I don't recognize your name in Rumble. Thank you for being here and being part of our family. This is all I have ever presented for almost 5 years. Factual, empirical evidence of how it's done, how they use the fat on the rolls, how they suspend the ballots, how they recirculate them back in to change the numbers. I've already presented it. But the machine crowds have worked diligently to make sure that never sees the light of day. Remember, the machine crowd tells you it's the machine. My work is hardcore forensic evidence of the physical ballot. The only thing that if you mess with is a felony. 2,000 people gave their time and expertise to this. We looked at every single ballot. I want you to understand this real quick. We looked at every single ballot in the system. I'm going to give you a little bit of information, Polly, that maybe you didn't see. Why? Because the machine guys basically told you it was a graph, it was this, but here's what you need to know. We captured, according to court rules in digital forensic evidence, 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of the ballots. We created 208 million individual evidence proof files. We processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, which was the result of 2 trillion individual based computations to get there, according to the rules of court and forensic evidence of the paper. And it's not our opinion, and it's not some polygonal, polynomial, fractal dactyl. It is just fact of paper, what the state said versus what actually happened. Now, they told you time and time again, it's fake, it's phony, he's a grifter. They keep on telling you that. By the way, if you look up here, right, we have to save this evidence. They're trying to wear us down because they know it's coming close for it to be used. We have to save this evidence. But let's just say, hang on. Oh, by the way, the same team told you I was a grift, told you I was a fraud. They do it every day. Was the same team that when we were going to do Michigan and Pennsylvania and other states we needed for the swing states, same team funded by the same people went in and told those states, don't do a full forensic audit. It's a grift. Just canvas. And if you find something in Canvas, then we'll do a full forensic audit. All it did was run out the time clock. Now with me, they're trying to run out the time clock. This is why we stayed in audit. We're continually in audit, and we have to protect this evidence. But I'm going to shit on your parade, so hang on. You ready? So let's say this testimony, this script, this deposition gets into court. Smartmatic, 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 Smartmatic. Change the vote, change the vote, change the vote, change the votes. Even though it's voluntary on the machines. So in my cross-examination of this, I'm going to go through a drill with this person doing it. First off, let's look at Smartmatic use. Prior to 2007, what year is it? 2025. What year did we have the evident debacle in our elections? 2020. What year is the evidence for Tina Peters? 2020. Let's look at Smartmatic. You ready? Smartmatic use prior to 2007. Smartmatic supported 300 jurisdictions across 16 states. And for example, deployed 6,000 devices in Cook County, Chicago. Kind of heard of Cook County, Chicago. Isn't that where Obama came from? So this is pre-2007. So this information's outdated. Can we get a little forward? Okay, let's go forward. In 2016, the Utah Republican Party used an internet voting pilot involving Smartmatic and Cybernetica for a solution for caucus voting, not in the general election, but they did a countywide test for it. Utah, one of those states that is trying to play the Republican, but they've kind of taken over. Okay, but that's still 2016. We got to go forward. Let's look at 2020. Ready? Smartmatic is the issue here. I've got this guy on the stand. Smartmatic did it. Here it is. Smartmatic was in use in exactly one place. Smartmatic was in use. Their software, the SASE or SAES, was in use in one singular place. That was Los Angeles County, California. And they called it VSAP, Voting Solutions for All People who are in on the rig. Well, let's jump forward. Did they use it in 2024? Well, yes, they did. Exclusively in Los Angeles County, California. But Tina Peters, Smartmatic. Tina Peters is not in Los Angeles County, California. Just because it can be done doesn't mean it was done. Now, we got a little bit of relevance here because we jumped from Venezuela, Cuba, and Latin America. We did make the jump to the United States of America, but it was only used in Los Angeles, California. In Los Angeles. Same in 2024. And what does it actually do? It does not count or tabulate or score. It basically provides the ballot marking and other front-end components while the actual tabulation is handled via separate systems. All I am telling you is what you just heard cannot pass the needs for the court. And for many reasons, there's no way to test it or verify it. But the nugget is none of it can happen. None of it can be executed on unless they can pre-stuff the voter rolls. Now, why is that? Where they're trying to take us is to ballot marking machines with no physical ballots. That's where they're trying to take us. But the saving grace in the United States of America is we have actual ballots. And when you look at the actual ballots, that's where we find it and prove it. It's empirical, and it's why the system shut it down. It's why the system keeps on telling you it's the machines. They have to keep you on the machines because 100% of the rules at the Election Assistance Commission or HAVA are voluntary. Or at worst case, $1,000 fine. Let me ask you a question. Do you want over 100,000 state and felony crimes proven with the names of the people that did it, who was responsible, and how they do it? Or do you want them to get an overarching one-time $1,000 punitive fine? What do you want? What do you want? This is what the system kept everybody away from. It's so sad, but it's true. This is what the system kept everybody away from. Okay? Everybody away from. The evidence has to be protected. I'm going to run it for you one more time. All I'm asking you to do, quit looking at this with emotions and go directly to the standards the court must have and ask yourself, does it matter if somebody's liked or wears a cross on the outside or whatever? Can we prove it by court standards? And this is why they want to keep on presenting people that can't prove it. Why do you think we get polynomials that, if you actually run the math, have a 1 in 80 billion chance of being right? But that's who they put forth as expert witnesses because they don't want it fixed. Why do they keep on putting, it was an Antifa Zoom call and that's proof, which they know the court cannot use because they don't want it fixed, because we have a uniparty and they all work together to do it. And that's why I tell you there is a big deal between prosecution, education, and evolution. And you have to understand all of this can be used. And by the way, all of the criminals that did this, the millions and millions of bad ballots, would fall under the machine fine or the storage record fine of one singular $1,000 fine. I want you to think about what we've been through. I want you to think about what we deal with.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.
Here we are once again with new versions of "It's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines." And don't get me wrong, I want the machines to go away. But even if you hand count ballots, you got to understand where the fat is. And the fat is something they build into the system. That's why they're covering right now under cover of day while you focus on the machines. Look what they're doing with the paper. While everybody told you to focus on the machines, where you can't get a conviction, you can't prove anything, what they've done under the cover of that while everybody's distracted with the machines, and you hear the supposed whistleblower telling you how they do it. They put them into the voter rolls first. They've been scooching it up. Why? Because they're going to unleash those same BS voters next time round. But yet, I don't wear a cross on the outside of my shirt. I teach. I show you the facts. I let you make your own decision. I don't have to beat you on the head with a cross to try to convince you I'm something great. But if it's going to get fixed, it has to be fixed by us. Go watch it if you want. I think it's very funny. Some of the very people that brought you, I was on an answer for call and I infiltrated it, and the president of the or whatever company said they're going to rig it, that actually got that in all the suits are the very people that bring you this TinaPeters.us stuff. But I saw it. He talked about testimony. You can go watch the testimony, folks. Make your own decision. You have to ask yourself, what do you want? You want prosecution? You have to do it in one standard. If it's just about the education, then okay, it's very educational. Can it be used from an evolutionary process to change the system? Yes. Not with people who are out there on election integrity calls and say, well, the voluntary voting systems guidelines 2.0 is better. See, they even tell us in the acronyms. Think about this. All of it is admissible. If you want to change it later, you can change it later. It's not technically a crime, but they even tell you in the acronym, voluntary voting system guidelines. All somebody has to do is, well, we followed the rules and we thought they were voluntary. We decided to use this. It is not the machines. We do not have voting machines. It is people, paper, and programs. It always will be. Folks, I love you. I love my country. We have to get together on this. And yes, evidence for this stuff does go with the paper evidence, does go with the machines. It's not either nor or, but if you're thinking you're going to fix it with hand counting ballots and it's the machines, without understanding how it really works, they're going to do it again. And if they're able to do it again, I think our country is going to be lost. But think about what we do know and think about how all of them pushed you away from it. I love you all. I love my country. I love my country. And it's going to be up to all of us to save it if we wake up. Share this program.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies file 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on "It's the machines," or "The machines changed the votes," or "The voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win." They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archive secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.